everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am gonna start my new series on my channel. So this has been such a long time coming, ever since I did my mental health story. I know a lot of you have been wanting like a lot of advice. I get messages daily from people asking about situations, etc. And yeah, I thought I would start a mental health Mondays series. However, as you can probably tell, today is not Monday. Starting from next Monday, hopefully, fingers crossed, we will get a video every single week on a Monday about mental health. So if there's any specific videos that you want to see, like regarding mental health, etc., please comment them down below because that would be absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Who am I? So if this is the first video you're seeing of me, then hello. My name's Marie. I've been doing YouTube for a while, years and years really, since I was about 15. I'm 19 years old and I actually had to leave school when I was 17 because of my mental health. So, been there guys, don't worry. Talking from experience. Today I'm going to be talking about school and mental health just because I think it's such a big thing. It's something that so many people struggle with, something that I definitely struggled with, and I wish I had someone to talk about it to, kind of thing, give me a bit of advice. And yeah, basically I just don't want you to make the same mistakes that I did. So I actually asked on Instagram for some questions. Obviously I won't mention names just because it's like a sensitive topic, etc. But if you want to be featured in a future Q&A, check out my Instagram because that's where I mostly update. So yes, let's get started. So okay, so the first question I got says, how do you know when your mental health is being affected more so than stress during exams? Okay, so I think this is a very important topic, and I just want to emphasize, I can't say this word, I've literally tried to say it like a million times, but you know, like exaggerate the point that stress during exams is extremely normal. Stress during school is normal. It's a normal feeling and emotion that we will feel, and that's okay. But in saying that, I think there's a massive difference between stress and it negatively affecting your mental health. So I suffered a lot with stress in school. However, when I was doing my GCSEs, I managed to manage that stress. Like, I managed the stress very well. I would maybe have like the occasional breakdown. I'm not saying a breakdown, I'm saying like I would cry or like just feel very overwhelmed. But it wasn't negatively affecting my mental health. I was still eating, sleeping, socialising, acting as I normally would. When I then went into sixth form and started A-levels, it wasn't even exam periods and I was just very, very different and my mental health was very negatively affected. My behaviours changed, I was picking up extremely bad habits and struggling with them a lot, and I think people saw a massive difference in me. So I think the difference between stress and then it negatively affecting your mental health is when it changes you as a person and other people also notice a change. So I massively think that's where the difference lies, and that's when you should try and seek help. A question that got a few likes says, how did you deal with people looking at your scars at school, joking about self-harm and mental health in general? I definitely dealt with that in school. As to self-harm, cuts and scars, I actually never ever showed my arms in school. I was very, very guarded about everything to do with self-harm. No one physically knew that I was doing it. Yes, they knew that I changed, but they were never able to say that I was doing it because they never saw it. Do you know what I mean? In regards to mental health jokes, I totally get what you mean. I remember specifically in year 12 being in sociology and someone making jokes about listening to Lana Del Rey and cutting their arms, and I was sat at the back of the classroom and I just was like, fucking hell. But I didn't actually say anything to them, and I know that can be quite hard if you're quite an outspoken person. However, I will actually let you know that the people who made them jokes, and I know them, were the same people who came up to me once I'd uploaded my mental health story and said, oh my gosh, I had no idea. And I think that says so much. I think the problem with school is immaturity. People are just immature and they don't realise how real things can be for people. They don't understand mental health, they're not educated, they just make jokes because they want to be lads and they want to be funny. The second thing I was going to say that you can do is actually try and educate them and speak to them For example, if it's your close friends and they are saying that, then I would definitely say to them, like, look, what the fuck are you doing? Don't say that because it's so rude and you have no idea what it's really like. Yeah, I think education is the way to go. Knowledge is power, guys. Knowledge is power. I really liked the next question. It says, what do you think about schools when someone has a mental illness but is just put off for having bad behaviour? That is a really big problem, I think. I definitely felt that in school. There were times when I would leave the classroom, leave school in itself, and I would get such a fucking bollocking the next day because I did that. I think, again, it's just lack of knowledge. What you need to do is tell them. Don't get me wrong, I know how bloody difficult that is because you feel naked and you feel vulnerable and you feel like everyone knows your secret and you just want to curl away into a ball. But I try to see it from their perspective, was that I did leave school and they didn't know where I was, even though I'd just gone to the bloody library, and the teacher was really bang out of order the next day, but that's a story for another time. If they don't actually know, like with me, they didn't actually know what was going on, so they didn't know how to help me. So I think if I'd actually said to them, like, look, I'm really struggling with anxiety, I'm feeling so overwhelmed and so stressed, that is when they can then take the steps to help you. So yeah, in response to that, I would just say, please communicate with them and let them know, because again, they probably have no idea. How did you tell your friends and how did they react? So I'm guessing this is about mental health or self-harm in general. I don't think I ever actually told my friends. Again, this is really bad of me. I've always been that person that just kind of lets it get to the worst part and then it'd be like, hey, I'm in hospital, and that was kind of it. I got admitted into hospital, I think a month after being pulled out of school for my mental health. They were like, why aren't you in school? And I said I had the flu for ages, and then I was in a hospital and they knew then. So yeah, how did they react? Well, they are my best friends, so they were amazing and they supported me all the way. However, another question I got asked was, how do you deal with friends who aren't supportive about mental health? And this was something that took me so long to come to terms with. My best friend in school and I actually don't really speak anymore. This isn't like any negative things towards them, because obviously I know that it's hard to deal with. Like, how do you even deal with it? It's hard. But we don't speak anymore, and when I was very ill, we just didn't speak, and it's hard because I remember for so long I felt like I was almost going through a heartbreak because this person that I'd counted on for so long and thought I'd be friends with for years wasn't there anymore. And yeah, that's so difficult. But my advice in terms of that would be, you have to think, if they're not going to be able to see it from your perspective and be there for you, then you don't need them in your life. You need to find people who really care about you and support you whatever you're going through. As hard as it is, you need to cut them out of your life and get rid of all of that negativity, because you're not a bad person for having it. It's not your fault, and people should be able to support you. Obviously it's hard. My friends and I actually did a video on that, so I'll leave it in a link below if you want to see it. But it's important, and you need to get rid of any negativity because you don't need that extra weight on your shoulders. You've got enough. Do you think people should let the school know about their self-harm? And then another girl asked me, what did she say? If you're 15/16 and you tell a teacher you're self-harming, do they have the right to tell your parents? Now, this is obviously a very touchy subject. It's not something that I have personally gone through. I've been doing some research, and as far as I'm aware, they have a duty of care and they have to tell your parents or your legal guardian or anything like that. Obviously, I don't know everything. I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counsellor, I don't know these types of things. But if your parents definitely won't understand, then I really don't know what the circumstances would be, whether they would like take you to the doctors themselves or arrange something like that. But as far as I'm aware, they would have to tell your parents. Now, this is such a scary thing for me to say, and you're probably listening and you're like, why the fuck are you telling me this? I don't want to tell anyone, like I can't have my parents know. But you have to remember that they are doing that not to spite you, not to hurt you, like that they need you to be safe and they need you to have support. So if that has put you off telling your teacher, please don't let it. Please tell anyone that you feel comfortable with. It's so difficult, but definitely a problem shared is a problem halved. Let me tell you, once you start telling people things, I'm gonna be completely honest, you'll be here, right, when you're doing things, coping with things by yourself, and you'll be on a slope. Then you tell people and you will just feel like you've just shot down a bit. And that's the reality. It gets a bit worse before it gets better because you are dealing with the fact that you can't cope with it by yourself. But afterwards, I tell you, it's up, it's up. Once you tell people, that's when you're making the first step into recovery. So please, if you are even thinking about telling someone, I want you to know how incredible that is, because it's so difficult and it's so daunting and you just don't want to do it. You want to cope with it by yourself. But I tell you what, you really can't. And take it from me, if I told someone when things were a bit shit, they would not have got to the extent that they would have. And I wouldn't have spent the next 2 years of my life in and out of hospital, basically. That's the bottom line of it. Let's have a look. What the next question is. Best tips for going back to college or school after having a long time out because of your mental health. And make sure that you are ready. Don't rush yourself into things. Don't think just because everyone else is at uni or at college that you need to be too. Everyone's on a timeline, okay? And everyone has different paces for themselves. Just because someone's a bit ahead doesn't mean that they're going to get to where they want to be quicker necessarily. I am actually in the same like educational standard as my sister almost. I only completed my AS levels, so the first year. I have them, but I can't do anything with them now because they've changed the syllabus. So yeah, my sister's actually 4 years younger than me, and technically we're in the same educational grade. If I went back to school like next year, we'd be in the same year. You know, you have to heal, you have to be ready, and there's no point going back to college or school when you're not ready, and it's just gonna make things so much worse because each time you fall down, it's so much harder to come back up. So I would say make sure you're ready. If you are ready, then pat yourself on the back. Give yourself validation. You're great. Look at you. You're going back to school after being off because you were very ill. That is incredible. Like, literally, that is incredible. I couldn't do it. I went to college and I lasted 2 weeks because I just wasn't in the right mind frame. But you're doing it. That's so good. You need to tell them from the get-go, like, look, I've had depression, I've struggled with anxiety, I have OCD, I take antipsychotics, I take antidepressants, and this is the support I need. With mental health, I realised a lot of people go looking for support and they get frustrated when they don't find the right one. But if you know what you want and you know what you need, so for example, if you're in school and you're saying, my free periods are mine, I don't want to stay in school because it stresses me out, I need to go home so I can revise or whatever, or just come in for the lessons that I need, you tell them that. This is what I need, because this is the only way I can cope. If it's, I need one-on-ones with my teacher, or I need to be able to go to therapy on a Monday between this time and this time, this is what I need. You need to tell them straight, because otherwise they just don't know. That would be my advice, is first of all, pat yourself on the fucking back because you're doing it and that's incredible, but also just be like honest. What do I need? This is what I need. And in terms of stress and exams, like I said before, remember that stress is very normal. Don't let yourself fall back into bad habits. As hard as it is, when you're feeling the thoughts or feeling the emotions that you are triggered by school or you're finding things difficult, tell someone, please. Please, please, please. But I am literally so proud of you if you are even considering going back to college. Like, you go, you're so good. So someone asked me, can you give advice on how to come out and speak to your parents about your mental health issues for the first time? Now, the reason I read this question out was just because I am actually going to do a whole other video on this. I really, really want my dad in it, but I don't think he'll do it. So I might try and get my sister in it because she's great and she will know exactly what to say. What did you find the hardest about being mentally unwell in school? I think the hardest thing was recognizing that I wasn't able to cope with things anymore, and it made me feel so weak. And actually, this has just come to me now, but I think the reason I wouldn't tell anyone was because I felt so out of control in every other aspect of my life. I wasn't able to control my grades, I wasn't doing well, I was struggling, I wasn't able to hand in any essays. Fun fact, actually, in English literature in year 12, the only essay I handed in all year was my exam. all year, never handed an essay. Actually, I would do these essays. It's not like I didn't do them, I just wouldn't hand them in because I was so scared that I was going to get a low grade, that it got to the point where this just shows how, like, what the fuck I was, because my teacher would ask me for my essay, I would show her that I did it, and then I'd get my pen and I'd scribble it all out. All like 4 pages of it. I was absolutely batshit, but yeah. I think the reason I clung on to this negative part of me, or this self-harm, or the depressed thoughts and suicidal aspects, was because it was the only thing I felt I could control. Again, someone asked me, how do you deal with teachers misunderstanding your behaviour? For example, if you're doodling in lessons because you're anxious and they think that you're rude, or keep missing homework deadlines, they think you're lazy or defiant. It's so weird reading these comments because I'm like, that was literally me. If I can find any pictures of my work when I was in year 12, I would doodle on everything. I wouldn't take anything in, and it was because I was so anxious and I was just like, again, it's one of them things where you have to tell them because they don't realise, they don't know. Like, I think the hard thing about being mentally ill in school is that you expect other people to recognise ill behaviour and all these different behaviours that you're exhibiting that are not, you know, the norm. I know definitely in my school there was not an educated mental health person. Obviously there were teachers that understood more than others, and I felt like I connected with them a lot more, but there wasn't someone that I felt like I could actually talk to. You need to find one person that you can trust in school, and when I'm saying that you need to talk to someone, I just want to make sure you understand that it should be someone who can make a difference. For me, that was my parents, like my dad and my mum. Eventually, when I told them, they were able to make a difference, able to make the decision to take me to the doctors, because I didn't want to go because I didn't care about myself, I didn't want to look after myself, but they were then like, no, we're going to go to the doctors. No, we need to tell your school. No, we need to take you out of school. So you need to tell someone like a teacher who can then give you advice on the reality of what you should do, whether that's go to the GP, tell your parents, and make the situation better, because you need someone to take that control that you're so in control of and take it away from you for a bit. Give you a bit of a break. It's tiring. Like, literally, depression, anxiety, self-harm and suicide, they're like bloody big coats that you have to wear, but it's raining all the time, so they get drenched, and then it turns cold and they're like ice, and you just have to lug around in these coats all the time, and you just need someone to take one of the coats off eventually, and eventually you'll come back out. Sorry if I've just moved, my camera just died, and I think this is when I'm going to end the video, so I think I've been talking for a bit too long. But if you have any more questions, feel free to message me on Instagram, you know, comment them down below. Just make sure you're getting all your worries out so that I can give you some advice. Yeah, if you comment down below, please feel free to reply to other people. Just make sure you're nice and considerate. And yeah, let's get this ball rolling. Let's get this Mental Health Monday as a proper family where we can all talk and enjoy each other's company. So, sorry for rambling so much. I hope you enjoyed the first episode of Mental Health Mondays on a Thursday. If you take anything from this video, it's just going to be you need to communicate, because that's the biggest aspect of being happy, is communicating, and you're not a burden. I'm telling you now, if you're looking for a sign to tell someone, this is me giving you a sign. This is a sign. Look at this sign. But please tell someone. Please, because you're not a burden and you matter, and you're gonna be fucking great once you let go of all this shit baggage. They are, all these shit coats. You need to let go of them, and you need to be happy because that's what you deserve to be. So yes, I'm gonna love you and leave you, and I shall see you in a video very soon.